Well, guys, I'm just gonna, address the elephant in the room. You're like, Wham the guy, Simic Daddy, where you been? Once again, I'm out here, I was trying to keep this consistent content going.
Stop the cap.
But life happens and yeah, I'm gonna keep it real. Tired, working, things like that. I've also been going to a few tournaments, top 16ing, like at the pool priority event that just happened this past weekend. We're gonna go over that. Spoiler alert, that'll be the thing that we're probably gonna end up going over today. Of course, we're not gonna look at all the decks, we're only looking at that fringe. I like to shed light on a few things there, but at the same time, if it's one of those, meta decks, but they got some spice in it, we still gotta take a look. I'm gonna try to, give you guys a little something more, I know you guys been waiting for me, wanting me to come back. Had a couple people ask me when I was gonna drop something. Well, this is it. I like to take my time, enjoy it like a fine wine. Something, give something, you want to cheer for, something the kids want. Have all the kids, just running around like, when is Simic Daddy gonna put out a new video? I'm not just trying to give y'all, some trash and tell you that it's a diamond. We gotta put quality in it. We gotta make the most epic cuts. Ain't nobody out here making cuts like me. With that being said, let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? You know who it is. It's your boy Wham, aka Wham the God, aka Simic Daddy, aka Daddy, aka him. Back giving you more of that beautiful, wholesome, delicious content. So go ahead, just sit back, enjoy, and let the boy work. With no further ado, let's just get into it. We're gonna go ahead and look over a pool priority held on July the 12th, 2025. 121 players, guys. This tournament was, ran really well. I'm gonna have to give a shout out to pool priorities, the staff being held at game nights. Shout out to everybody at game nights. They're, very nice people. Just went over and beyond, helping everybody out, making everyone feel like they're at home. Once again, thanks for having everybody out. And we look forward to maybe, more events there. So let's go ahead and look into these lists. Of course, in first place, we got Kellen Cohen. I got a chance to see him in top 16. I always love playing against him. Real good player. Probably the best, I know for a fact, probably he is the best Mardu player out right now. I think outside of him, the only other player as far as Marta goes that I think does really good is one of the homies back home. I'd take that back. There are two people that are probably giving him a run for his money right now. One of them being Dylan Cole, Hefty Hog, and the other one being Michael I think he just won one recently as well. Like I said, those are probably some of the best Mardu players I've played so far. So, with that being said, once again, congratulations to Kellen. But let's go ahead and take a look at the deck. I already know what's in it, but this is just to show y'all. So, just taking a look at it, we got 24 creatures, commanders being, of course, Dargo the Shipwrecker and Timna the Weaver. Gives you that explosive, wins that you want, as well as giving you the draw advantage to get there. Looking over the 24 creatures, let's see if we see anything super decent, super spicy, super out of this world. First off, I'm gonna go ahead and have to say, Philia, Exuberant Shepherd. It's a 1 in a white. Flash, whenever it attacks, you can exile up to one target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next instant, return that card to the battlefield under control. If it enter under your control, you put a 1/1 counter on it. It's a couple of things this can do. It's already blinking, your non-land permanent, so just looking from the creature package will work our way down. Gives you that underscore goblin, giving you more mana at the end of the flicker. Resets your dead pool, just in case it's out there, just pure value. All these non-land permanents, this deck has a lot of things that it can do when you're hitting that flicker. Flickers your prize statue, give you that extra mana, that extra treasure you may need to pull something off, gives you the curse totem resets. So it's really, strong utility in this deck. The Statter Prism, the one card everybody hates, but love to see at the same time, as long as it's not you. Going over all that, gives you resets on that. Sets you can set you up for a lot of different combos, things of that nature. Back up, let's go ahead and keep looking. One thing that stands out right here, Yawgmoth Thran Physician, beautiful card. It works as removal, can proliferate, give you those extra +1/+1 counters. Not to mention that you get to draw a card off of it. There's a lot of things this actual card can do. It actually is, getting rid of a lot of things. Once again, you're sacrificing the creature as well. I don't know if you're paying attention. If you're looking at the list, you see a Mayhem Double here. It's proccing your Mayhem Double just by existing and doing what it's supposed to do. This deck is ridiculous. Every time I play him, I just have the craziest games. And it's not just one, dedicated win line. He has like 3, 4, 5 ways he can win the game. So, playing things such as Tainted Pact or Demonic Consultation or things like that he runs in the deck, he can just go and find whatever he needs, not have to really worry about, oh, I hit this card, I can't win anymore. That's a good feeling to have when you can just go ahead and exile everything you want, get what you want, and still have win lines. But with that being said, it's a deck that takes a lot of experience. You have to know what you're doing. You have to understand that you have to pivot sometimes and know when to pivot and how to pivot. And a meta with so many different, diverse decks is very impressive. Once again, going back to this again, more, fast mana, more even pace. And he actually paced it out because he can play on different axes. He can go turbo, he can sit it out for a little bit, but once he goes for it, he can try it, and if he gets stopped, he can try again. But once again, it takes a dedicated pilot knowing when to push again and when to wait, and that's what separates a good Mardu pilot from a bad Mardu pilot. So if you're a good Mardu pilot, you're Mardu. If you're a bad Mardu pilot, you're doo-doo. Know the difference. Let's see what else we got. Once again, the outlet, Altar of the Wretch. You can use that mill, get everything in there to pull up that beautiful breach at the end. You can go ahead, and the sorceries, I know he has Appear into the Abyss. If he pulls that off after stacking the Dargo with, a sacrifice or something of that nature, draws half the deck. You have half your deck in your hand. You can pretty much figure out a win from there. Me, myself, personally, I love things like that, but I tend to triple sleeve my decks. So, Appear into the Abyss puts half the deck in my hand. I triple sleeved it, pretty big half, you know what I'm saying? But I'm used to carrying things like that. Going on from here, let's look over it on Bolas Citadel. One of my favorite cards. I'm a Simic player usually, and I play a lot of Kennen, but when I do play in other colors and it's black, I try my best to throw Bolas Citadel in there. It's like, a good cup of coffee in the morning, just wakes you up. Anything else I can see in this list that I'm pointing out? Tataru. This is actually a pretty interesting card. This card itself, as as soon as it was released and people could get their hands on it, everyone was like, putting it in their deck and shoving it in their deck, and you should. It's a really good card. Yes, it gives your opponent a draw, but sometimes that could be a good thing. And whenever someone draws, outside of their draw phase and it's not their turn, you can create a tap treasure. Some people saying, oh, tap treasures, what is that about? But the way the meta is now, a tap treasure is just as good as an untapped treasure. You get to your turn, it's just as good. With the dockside going, literally tap treasures mean like nothing. You don't really get punished for that. Looking over, he has the Technomancer loops. And I'm sorry if it feels like I'm rushing through it, but a lot of you guys watch this and you already know how a lot of these loops work. If there's something unique or like crazy unique loop, I will get in depth with it. But for the most part, what we're looking at here is, some stock and standard Mardu things. Of course, he's added some spice on it, ways to do different things and ways to grind out value in a Mardu deck, which is kind of, again, crazy because most of the time you're looking at your blue and black decks or, some type of Baron Esper where you get that type of value. And he's found a way to incorporate in the Mardu deck in a way where he's gaining an advantage and still holding on, where he can just pretty much turbo out or show you a win pretty much whenever he decides. At this point, it just comes down to picking the perfect window. Congratulations once again, Kellen, man. You put it down. I had to go ahead and, that's like one of my favorite parts of a tournament. If I see you there, I'm just trying to see you, what I'm saying? Next time, it's going to turn out a little different next time. It's my villain art time. What I'm talking about? Yeah, what I'm talking about. But once again, congratulations, man. Christian Johnson. His real name is Ananias. That's what we call him. Let's take a look at it. He does do a couple of little new things here and there. He was on Tivit Cellar Secrets, his mainstay. That's what he likes to do. From looking over, just in case you didn't know what Tivit Cellar Secrets does, it's a flying ward 3 as Council's Dilemma. Whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or attacks or deals damage to a player, starting with you. Each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. While voting, you may vote an additional time. The votes can be for different choices or for the same choice. So if he wants, what that means is if he wants, he can vote for a treasure and a clue, or just keep it treasure, clue. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. So when you're voting, make sure you maybe want to communicate with the table. Like again, sometimes he wants cards, sometimes you want mana. Again, it just depends. Looking over the Planeswalkers package, he does have Teferi Time Raveler. That means that there's a Thassa's and a Displacer Kitten in here. Both of these give you that pretty much loop. All you need is a 0 mana rock. You pretty much have your Displacer Kitten out. You activate Teferi's effect. You pretty much bounce a card back, a non-permanent, back to his owner's hand, and you draw a card. You do that, you bounce your 0 rock, you cast a 0 rock. When you cast a 0 rock, Displacer Kitten will trigger. And in case you didn't know what Displacer Kitten does, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can exile the one target non-land permanent control and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. So what you would do is you would blink your Teferi Time Raveler, and it would come back in with the initial 4 loyalty counters it had and resets the ability so you can do it again. You rinse, wash, and repeat. Now to get more mana with this, you take that 0 drop rock that you have and you tap it before you bounce it. So you just draw on a card, making mana, draw on a card, making mana, and you do this ad nauseum until you pretty much get the Thassa's Oracle you want. And you can keep going until you have your whole deck in your hand, then you cast the Thassa's Oracle. This is actually a secondary win condition to the one that we all know, where you get the time sieve out, tap it, sack 5 treasures or 5 artifacts, period, and just, you know, get an extra turn. You can do that until everyone's dead at the table as well. That is what this deck is based on. There are other little lines that it can pull off as well. One being the Fairy Mastermind loop. If someone happens to have like a Kitten or something out and you have a way to produce, where you can produce or make your mana, you know, tap for double, or something you can do to give you more mana to a point where you're actually mana positive on your rocks when activating the Fairy Mastermind to make everyone draw a card. You can actually make everyone draw their deck out. I know you're saying, well, what if you want to respond to that? Well, the only way you can respond to that is if you have a Trick Mind. That's the only thing that'll get you out of that loop. He's actually on the Grand Arbiter Augustin IV. This card is very interesting. So it's a stacks piece, but it's a light stacks piece, and in some occasions it's almost like a defense grid, but just for you. It makes everyone else's spells, you know, cost 1 more, but it makes your white spells and your blue spells cost 1 less. Really cool card. Gets your Tivit out early, and it pretty much allows you to cast a lot of things in this deck a turn early. And sometimes, you know, changing up the tempo or putting somebody off on their tempo is the difference between winning and losing a game in general. Let's see if we can find any spice in here. You know, your boy been gone for a while. Don't bore me. Do not bore me. Come on, give me something. I've been gone. You guys had a chance to cook something up. Don't say to me you're gonna cook something, then I get over there and you give me the green bean casserole. You know what I'm talking about? The deck itself is really good. The palette is really good. Probably one of the best Tivit palettes as well. What else do we got here? Nicholas Ivy, Blue Farm. We do not deal with Blue Farm, no sir. If it's something, you know, one of the homies, I'll take a look at the deck. I ain't gonna lie, you know, I'm gonna get the homies a shout out. If it's one of the homies, I'm gonna look. But for the most part, if it's Blue Farm, I'm probably not gonna waste my time on it. Dan Brown on the Revy. I actually had a chance to play him in the Swiss. I played him before most of the time. He's a great Revy player. Probably one of the better ones too. He always, you know, he pulls it off, and there's always lines that you don't see or new improved lines that he's willing to try out, and they always, you know, they're always spicy and they always work for him. Of course, he's on the, you know, the Revy Displacer Kitten flickers as well, but with this one you can actually throw in an Eternal Witness, so you still have an Eternal Witness and the Displacer Kitten flicker lines as well, as long as you have a, you know, a rock that sacrifices itself or a rock that can be played again, or where you find a way to get it to your hand pretty much. It also works with the Snap loop, so you have the Eternal Witness, Displacer Kitten, and Snap. So you'd cast Snap, you know, you would blink pretty much the Eternal Witness, so you would cast Snap, blinks the Eternal Witness, it gets back a rock or something from the grave. As long as it's something like a Lotus Petal, you can actually cast that Lotus Petal again. It will blink it, of course, and bring back the Snap. Now, how do you get all your infinite mana here? What happens is, if you have, you know, pretty much lands that can tap for 3 or more or 2 or more, they'll untap and they'll keep bouncing back and forth. That 0 rock gives you that infinite mana. So what happens is you're casting and untapping, casting, untapping, and doing these things of that nature, giving that +1 mana. So that's where you end up with infinite mana. Now what you do with that infinite mana in the Revy is a little bit harder because it's not an outlet in the command zone. With that being said, you still have things such as, your mill, the untap your lands, or blink whatever creature you want. You have your Thrasios. So if you run it, you can draw your deck that way. I don't know if Thrasios is actually in this list. I mean, I can take a look just to make sure. It's actually not in this list, so that's not a way out for him, but he is on that new Final Fantasy card, the Mogul. There it is. So this creature says, when it enters, you search your library for a graveyard for an artifact with 2 or less, you can really put in your hand and if you search your library this way, shuffle. In a loop like that, you can put this Mogul in there and blink it and start pulling all your artifacts out, and set up your win lines as well through that, as well as with your Guild Hulk. There's so many ways you can blink and reset in this deck and just win out, not to mention the Birth and Pod lines. Oh, he's on Wargate. I don't think all the Revies were in Wargate, which is kind of weird. A lot of things that he runs in his deck are things that I actually agree with, and I think that most of the Revy players should be running, but everyone wants to be different, and that's a cool thing. I like that, because if everybody wants to run the same thing, like a lot of Blue Farm players want to run the same thing, it makes the meta stale. You don't have any innovation, and then everyone knows what you're doing. But when you're doing things that are different and no one knows what you're going to do, it opens up possibilities for wild games. Let's see what else we have here. Lots of searchers, of course. Don't silence the spell, flood maw. There it is. Expedition map. So it goes back to that Mogul and Gear Hulk. You can just find it that way, crack, get the lands that he needs, proceeds to go ahead and, do the infinite mana thing. At the end of that, he can find a way to go ahead and search out his Chromatic Ori, or Chromatic Ori gets down, you start blinking that infinitely, drawing your deck, and you can win that way. There's so many ways you can win. Finale, of course, being the outlet. He's on Training Grounds, reduce that a meal. And if you didn't know what a meal does, let me go back and read it for you guys. There's a lot of reading in this thing. It's like I'm reading books every time I do this thing. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit. I'm gonna start using my Morgan Freeman reading books or something. So a meal, 3 colors pretty much. So you play 3 colors and you can exile another target creature control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Whenever another creature you control enters, you may pay the green and white. If you do, you can put a 1/1 counter on it, and it's a unicorn. Put 2 2/1 counters on it if it's unicorn. We pay with either green or white, of course, that's what it means. So you just blink infinitely +1/+1 counters. I guess you can attack and win that way. Or you can just, do a finale devastation with all your creatures and win the game. Seem a little bit better. You have the 1 ring, of course, with the Revy and infinite untaps. You can go ahead, and I know you say, how do you get the infinite untaps? Well, you get it from things like a mill when he blinks the Revy. So it just bounces and, untaps and bounces back in and untaps. So you can draw your deck that way as well. This deck's pretty good. It's faster than you think it is. It's more of like on a turbo pod axis, so it's faster than you think it is. And once it does the thing, it does it really well, and it's really hard to interact with those lines. Congratulations to him. I already know you're gonna top 16 or at least top 4 or win one. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again, man. Let's see who's next. Dev Patel. Deputy Dev. We're gonna look at this. I know it's a Blue Farm list. I know.
Well, you said you were gonna do the Blue Farm.
But it's with the homies, so we're gonna look at it. Dev on the Blue Farm, of course. Tim the Crom. Just disgusting. He can play other things. He has this actual pretty good Jund deck. I don't know why he doesn't just play it, but it's pretty good. But let's start off, we all know Blue Farm likes to draw cards. Let's see what else he has. Let's look see if he has some spice. Looking over creatures. Oh, is it Guild Mage? Okay, player, I see you. Is it Guild Mage? Red or blue? Copy target instant spell you control with mana value 2 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. Oh, 2 red, or are there 2 colors in the red? There's 2 colors in the red. Copy target sorcery spell control with mana value 2 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. Oh, this is kind of spicy. I get it. So it actually helps you with battles on the stack, or recopying an instant or a sorcery. Well, I guess target instant, because in most cases, most time you're recopying an instant. And the weird part about this, I know people are like, why is it weird? So it actually works with Stormkill Artists. I don't know if you read Stormkill Artist. It says whenever you cast or copy this sorcery, it'll create a treasure token. The thing is, if you pay the run red, or if you pay the blue and you can copy the target instant spell, it'll trigger the Stormkill Artist and make a treasure. The reason this is important is because you can infinitely make copies. Now, again, why are you saying oh well, why would you do that? There's a couple reasons. He has a Mayhem double out here. This is actually an infinite loop that'll feed the Mayhem Devil and kill the table. That is spicy. Good job, Dev. This is different. I like that. Hell yeah. So with that infinite loop, you can kill the table. Not only does it infinite loop here, it infinite loops in one other place. You have the Stormkill Artist and this Is It Guild Mage out. Another thing that it loops with Brain Freeze. You can instantly, you can over and over again copy and put copies over and over of Brain Freeze. Now I know you're saying, but that's not enough mana. That's not enough mana. Well, eventually, especially with Bergie out, you're gonna get there. This loop is ridiculous. Holy shit. I'm gonna add that to my playbook. I'm gonna add that one. That's a spicy loop. Not only does it do that, but you can also copy pretty much any other instant that you have in here. A double demonic consultation wins you the game. Anything that you can double with that is just ridiculous. Wow, that's a good card. That is a good choice. I would have never thought about it. Double ad nauseum. You double everything. Double everything. It's like this card is like the Walmart of cards. Great value. Whoa. I like that. Let's keep looking. You got me an interest peak now. Let me see. Everything else is still kind of like blue farmish. I think, he picked Gifts Ungiven. Is there intuition in here? There isn't. No, there is no intuition. Am I blind? No intuition. So I guess he favors the Gifts Ungiven over intuition. And I also agree. I don't think you really need both. One or the other. I think it still would be gifts because, one more card can be a difference maker. He's on Limdol's Vault. If you didn't know what that does, pretty much it's a black and a blue. You can look at the top 5 cards of your library as many times as you choose. You may pay 1 life, put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order, and then look at the next top 5 pretty much. And then you may shuffle those cards on the top in any order, or if you don't decide to do that, pay the 1 life, put them at the bottom, look again. This is a good card because pretty much it just allows you to set up your top decks. It allows you to set up your deck the way you want and the way for what you're looking for. I actually talked to him about this card day of the tournament, once everything was pretty much over. He said he didn't really like for blue farm, and I kind of agree. I can understand how it worked, but maybe I still think it's better in other decks, like Glarb and things of that nature. But overall, still a pretty decent card. So pretty much outside of that, everything else is still kind of, normal for the most part. Demonic Council. I know a lot of blue farms are on or off of this one. So congratulations him, on being, I think, what did he get? I think he got 6th place on 6th place with this one, man. Congrats. He's used to top 16, like myself. He's used to, producing results. So, you'll be seeing a lot more of him. I think he's still in the top 60 somewhere. Maybe in the 10s or the 20s. He's around there somewhere. So on to the next one, but congratulations, man. Who's next? Let's look. We have Dylan McQuarrie on a TNT. We gotta look at this. I don't care if it's vanilla. I don't care if it's a copy pasta. I don't care what it is. It's Kennen, our Lord and Savior. Regardless of what deck it is, we gonna give it a look. Show me something spicy, Sean. Let's see what we're looking at here. Kennen Bound to Prodigy. We already know what this guy does. This the littlest, biggest badass in the whole damn game. We're on Tezzeret. Let's look at the creatures. I always like looking at creatures first to see how spicy we can make it. He's on the usual suspects. Nothing different here. Yeah, everything's the same. Hydroelectric Specimen. I think that's the newest add to a lot of Kennen decks. Myself personally, I'm not on it, but we'll get to that later because I also top 16 this tournament. Come on, I ain't gonna cover it like that. I'm skip over the other one. You already know I'm in this one. Of course I'm gonna cover it. And don't worry, guys, you won't be disappointed. I got some new stuff for y'all. But I will give you a little spoiler alert. The show and tell Kennen build I have, don't worry, we switch things out all the time. We're currently not on omniscience. I know you're like, golly, man, what happened? I said you never take it out. Well, things change, people change, same old. Here we go, bribery. This is a man of fine taste. A man of fine taste. He loves the finer things in life. He is a gentleman and a scholar. Bribery. If you don't know what it does, it says search target opponent's library for a creature card and put that card into the battlefield under your control, then that player shuffles. A lot of people are saying, why would you run bribery in Kennen? Well, because everyone else right now is in white, so we can go get a grand deballer if we need it. Me, myself, personally, this comes in and out of my list as well. It can get you a hole breaker. It gets you pretty much whatever you need in whatever situation, and only 5 mana is pretty good. This pretty much says, everyone's like, let me stop. A lot of people are like, 5 mana. That's a lot of mana. Not in Kennen. That literally says tap a land and 2 dorks, and you just can play whatever your heart desires from another person's deck. This gets around opposition agents. What a great card. Good choice. Good choice. Highly recommended if you want to have a good time. Oh, he's on Pongify. A lot of well, he's on Endurance, isn't he? Yeah, he's on Endurance. So he's with Endurance and Pongify. You can do Endurance loops. So I guess with that being said, it makes sense. Me myself personally, I'm not on that, but we'll go over that later. I'm gonna stop talking about myself so much. My time will come. Don't worry. Oh, he's on Imposter Mech. Once again, that's more like a personal call. I myself personally, I see myself not liking Imposter Mech as much. It doesn't give me the flexibility to copy, like anything I want. It's like, Clever Impersonator lets you copy anything you want, and being a creature as well, if you happen to activate Cannon and Flip into it, makes way better magic, way better lines. Let's see. Oh, he's still on Invasion. Now, a lot of people are dropping Invasion, even green players. Some of the green players are dropping Invasion. I still think it's pretty good. To me, it's like a second finale in the sense that it can go into your graveyard as well. I think that's a very specific trait of things like this that sometimes you really need. But still, what a great list. What a great player. Let's clap it out for the boy. Congratulations, Sean. Congratulations. I love to see it. I love to see it. Congratulations on 8th place finish. I love to see it. 212 record. Beautiful. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, it's TJ on our Clark, the Thumbers and Thrasios build. I actually had a chance to play him in top 16. Pretty cool guy. Pretty chill. The top 16 game, it was me, him, Kellen, and I want to say it was Chase. It was Chase from casting called cEDH. Yeah. Really cool Paul. Everybody's chill, having a good time. A little trash talking. That's the way I like it. If you can't talk trash in the game, is it really worth playing? Let's up the ante a little bit. Let's get going. A little friendly rivalry. Let's have some fun. See what TJ got to give us. As far as a player goes, he still did really well. I think Kark Thras has a place in the middle, and I think a lot of people should look more into this deck and maybe look at innovating it. The last time I played someone who was really, really good on it, I think it was Alex. He's currently retired, but that being said, he still plays every now and then, and it's still a tough deck to beat. TJ did a good job as well though, so let's not slight him. He did a great job. Let's take a look. We have the usual things going on here. Anything spicy? Oh, Zada. Nah, that's hot. So if you don't know what Zada does, Zada is pretty much what does it say? A goblin ally. Goblin and ally. That's a crazy mix. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets Zada, you can copy that spell for each other creature you control, and spell that can target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. The reason this is so good is, it's actually a few reasons this is pretty good. If you look at the instant and sorcery package, he's on things like Crimson Wiz, Expedite. Not only are you, so I guess so people can, I don't necessarily keep up, but I guess take the whole thing into perspective. Expedite, target creature gains haste until the end of turn. If you happen to have a Zada out, it copies it for every creature you have as long as you cast and target Zada. So now, if you cast Expedite, it doesn't have to resolve because Zada triggers. So you cast Expedite, it'll trigger. If you have Kark out, there will be another trigger. And if you happen to have something else that copies Kark trigger, it triggers again. So you have 3 triggers. You resolve the Zada trigger first because it's going to copy it for each one anyway, and you draw cards. Now, if you happen to miss Kark's triggered ability and flip it back to hand, you can cast it again. This way, you have a way of drawing cards whether or not you hit the correct call. So even if you copy it, it just copies it again and puts more of the triggers on the stack. So you're drawing a lot of cards. This is actually real. Now that's a spicy pick. That's really spicy. He does it again with Crimson Wiz and things of that nature. He's actually on Emerald Charm, which is really cool. You can untap target permanent or destroy target non or enchantment. Target creature loses flying until the end of the turn. Once again, you can target Zada. This is just to get a storm count going, or copy or feed into that storm kill artist or that tavern scoundrel. There's a lot going on in this deck actually. It draws a lot of cards, it sees a lot of cards, and it can happen really quick. It's very unassuming. This deck is very demure. An is it deck that's demure. It's not even is it. What is it? A teamer deck that's demure. Oh God, I killed myself. Slay. Let's look over what else we got here. So this is pretty good. Flame of Venor. This is a new one. If you control a wizard, as you cast a spell, you may choose 2 instead. Target player draws 2 cards or destroy target artifact. Flame of Venor deals 5 damage to each target creature. So 3 choices. Control the wizard, you can choose 2. It copies that. That's pretty good. Once again, I'm not saying Flame of Venor is new. This is Lord of the Rings, but it's new to this Kark Thrasios deck. I think that might have been more of a personal choice, but I still like it. Congratulations. This deck is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it was really cool to play against you, man. You're a really nice person. Next time I look up and I look at a tournament report, I want to see that you won something, man. I want to see you as a winner, because you already know I'm going to win my next one. But let's not even play around. Congratulations, TJ. Who's next? Paul Morrell on Ken Brother Prodigy. Let's see what this guy's got. Oh my God, this deck's beautiful. It's immaculate.
Sensational.
This guy, before his time, beautiful. Preach the good word, brother. Preach the good word. Look at this. Oh my God. Oh my God. He's a virtuoso. Oh my God. I don't like guys. I'm glazing myself and I love it. This is my show and tell build. We made a lot of different changes, but I guess we'll go over it a piece at a time. I would do a different deck take with it. I probably still will do, updated deck take, but let's just go over here and go over a little few things there, here and there. I finished 10th, record of 212, beautiful. We're on Tezzeret, the usual. We're on Walking Ballista. I know a lot of Kennen players aren't on Walking Ballista, but there are so many ways that you can make infinite mana right now. And with it just being colors, sometimes you just have it. Sometimes you make infinite colors and people go, oh, okay, you can do whatever you want with it. And you just cast a Walking Ballista. It's certain things that you can do with that, or sometimes this is even just a threat by itself. Cast it for 4 where, the overall X is 2. You can ping Bowmasters, they can't touch you. You can do things like that. This card can actually hold a table hostage under the right situations. So don't ever sleep on Walking Ballista. Nothing better than, circling the block twice. You know what I'm talking about? Pew, 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 pew. Insert whatever gun noises you want here. We're on Devoted Druid. So with Devoted Druid, of course, we're on Machine God's Effigy. If you don't know how that works, the Machine God's Effigy is 4 colorless and it's an artifact. And you may have it come in as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact and has, tap, make a blue. The reason this is good is because it's an artifact. It copies the creature, but it does not become a creature, meaning that it can't be Bowmastered and it can't be removed for things that destroy creatures. That's very strong, actually, because Devoted Druid itself, if you didn't know, it taps for green, and you can put a -1/1 counter on it to untap it. That being said, it still has the same abilities when it be created by Machine God's Effigy. So you can put a -1/1 counter on the Machine God's Effigy and untap it, but it doesn't die because it's just an artifact, not a creature. With that, you can tap it for blue, untap, or tap it again to make green, because it also has the ability of Devoted Druid. That way you still make infinite mana. And once again, if let's say you can't cast Kennen, well, guess what? You can cast Walking Ballista. That's another reason that it's in here. Also this Grim Monolith goes with Nyxbloom Ancient, triples the mana, infinite colorless. It's just a way to filter your mana into a way that could win the game, not just draw cards. I know you say you can just play Thrasios and draw your deck. Well, if you don't have, and you're tight on mana, or you don't have a way to get Thrasios, Walking Ballista again is another out. Another creature I want to point out, Glenalindra, everyone's on that. The big one here being the Wand Cephalid Empress. If you didn't know, it's a 3 colors in a blue. And it says whenever Lawine enters, you return all blue creatures your opponent controls to their owner's hand. Your opponent can't cast blue creature spells. Very strong right now. I don't know if you noticed, but most of the decks right now are on blue creatures, and it's an outlet for most blue creatures. Big one being Rog Thrasios, or whatever color and Thrasios. You draw your deck with Thrasios, or you use that good old, Seaborn, or you use that good old Oboro Breeze Caller, Talon Gates line. Well, if Talon Gates is out and a Breeze Caller isn't out yet, and you play this, that means they can't play their Oboro Breeze Caller. Stops the Thassa's Oracle Demcon's line, stops Thrasios from being played lines, can't play Hullbreaker, can't play Tide Spout, bounces all other blue creatures that could give you any trouble. Can Valley Flood Caller. There are a lot of strong blue creatures in the middle right now, so this is the answer to it. And believe it or not, a lot of people will fight to keep this on the board in the right conditions. So that's why I added this to the deck. Very strong pick right now, and one that a lot of people should probably be looking more into if you can find a way to fit it into your creature package. Jin-Gitaxia's Progress Tyrant. The reason I picked this one over the other Jin-Gitaxias is because, yes, the other one lets you draw cards and keeps everyone else's hand at a minimum, and everyone has to discard their hands. But that could be good and bad. If you're not winning when it comes back to your turn, after doing something like this, you can put yourself in a situation where you might not have the answers, and everyone else that did have answers discarded their hands. You have to keep in mind that these things could happen. You have to plan accordingly, because believe it or not, you can't always police the table by yourself. You have to be able to still keep people in the game, but keep their involvement to almost a minimum, to where it still benefits you, if that makes sense. So this one actually is a little bit better, because whenever you cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell, you can copy that. Of course, it only happens on the first time that would happen, but doubling your counter spells, doubling your interaction cup, doubling your basalt monoliths, doubling your mana rocks, and things like that, doubling your Machine God's Effigies, that's a very strong ability and is really hard to interact with. Not only that, it's a 5/5, It can hold its own. It'll eat interaction sometimes. Sometimes that's what you want to do. You want that card to eat interaction. So when you do what you're really wanting to do, it's harder to interact with. Once again, it's just putting things in place that make the game harder or make them have to have an answer. And if they don't have an answer, then they pretty much just lose. If you don't have an answer for a lot of these things that I'm running, it puts you in a situation where you really can't do anything but the minimum. And also another thing it does is it counters the first artifact, instant, or sorcery spell someone play. Again, it stops a lot of things in the meta right now that people like to do. People like to play expedition maps. People like to play, the 2-card win cons. People like to play things to search. When this thing is constantly countering those things, it gives people not even decision paralysis. It makes it to a sense where they're trying to play around that one ability and not being able to, account for everything else that may happen. So once again, it warps the game in a way that plays that are usually made can't be made, if that makes sense. Wandering Archaic, another favorite card of mine. Kellen actually took this from me in the top 16. We lost to it, but I knew he probably had one of those 3 things. I knew he either had the Jinkataxias, the Glenalinger, or the Wandering Arcade. Those are 3 big ones, because he Predator crashed me in the top 16 and he took something, but everyone else was thinking it for us. Well, I know better than that. Kellen's a way better player than that. He wouldn't take that. It's going to be a creature because I run some pretty cool shit. So I was already planning on it being one of those 3 creatures, and I was going to play Auto War to bounce it because nothing else mattered at that point. If you can't bounce the creature, you're in trouble. Oh, Show and Tell, the namesake of the deck. It's Show and Tell Ken, and I actually have it posted on my Mox build, and I actually have a video out on it as well. Once again, I got to update that video. If you don't know what Show and Tell does, each player may put an artifact, creature, enchantment, or land card from their hand onto the battlefield. Now, the reason this is so good is because everyone can do it cool. Most people don't want to interact with it because they think they can counter the next thing or remove what I'm putting in play. Most Magic players are greedy. But then again, who doesn't like free shit? What I'm betting on with this card is whatever I put in play is going to be better than yours. And 9 times out of 10, that is the case. Every now and then it can bite you in the butt. This is actually a card that it gets better with the skill of the player or the skill of the deck, or the deck in general. So the more this card can cater to the deck, the better the card's going to be. In this case, it's really good because anything we put into play pretty much is a banger. Anything outside of Dork, pretty much I would say it's going to be a banger. So that part of the deck is just really good. I love that card. Probably one of my favorite cards that I played in Kennen so far. That and this card, Sylvanas Stampede. So a lot of times, as a Kennen player, you'll find yourself with a bunch of thick, fat boys, and ain't nothing wrong with a fat boy. I promise you, it's the best loving you're gonna get. All right, this card just pretty much turns all the things in your hand that you might see as clunky into all of a sudden a big just punch. It's just a big punch. Not only does Show and Tell and Sylvanas Stampede, scratch that itch for you to do some really cool shit, it also puts your opponents in a position where they have to counter or let it happen. And it's hard to tell what a Kennen player is going to do. If they counter it, that's cool. You just play what you were going to do. If they don't counter it, it lets you know they don't have interaction. Then you do what you want to do. It's just a check, pretty much. Both of these cards check the table and let you know a lot of information that you might not have had at first. But back to it, Sylvanas Stampede, Council's Dilemma, starting with you. Each player votes for wild or free. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card for each wild vote and put those creatures onto the battlefield. Then shuffle the rest of your deck into your library. Then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield for each free vote. There is no way to win on this card. No matter what you vote for as an opponent, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be good for me, bad for you. You can only hope that I just hit dorks. Most people, depending on what I vote, they tend to vote the opposite, or they'll vote with what they think would be the best decision. A lot of times, like I said, there is no right or wrong to this card. It's just a let Jesus take the wheel and let's see what happens, pretty much. Oh, we're on Trickbind. I've always been on Stifle Effects. I love Stifle Effects. I think that's the best thing next to a Thassa's Oracle, to be honest with you, is stopping a Thassa's Oracle. When you let all that happen and then with that trigger on the stack, you play that Trickbind and there's nothing they can do about it. Best feeling in the world. We're on Commandeer as well. Let's see. The usual, Mana Rock package. Enchantments, we're on, of course, Rhystic and Mystic. We're on Amphibian Downpour because this is pretty much one of our answers to the Magdas and the Sisseys of the world and things like that. Things that interact with activated abilities that we necessarily can't interact with counter spells. This pretty much takes a lot of those things out of the game once again, and it also tackles those Thrasios, you know, activations for you, those Karks as well. Keeps them from doing their thing. And another big one right now is BB. This takes BB out of the picture as well. Maybe they'll come, a lot of times people will, you know, they'll have those 1/1s, and instead of going, oh, let's, you know, attack each other's creatures and get them back, which is a big no, people will decide not for that to happen, because nobody wants you to recast a BB or a Kark or a Thrasios again. Once again, pretty good card. I think this went up in value of, you know, what can I do to stop other players' commanders from winning. Another big one I got here is Psychic Possession. It's an enchantment. It's 2 colors and 2 blue. It's an enchantment that, you know, you enchant your opponent and you skip your draw step, and then whenever your enchanted opponent draws a card, you may draw a card. Again, put it on a blue farm player, put it on a Thrasios player. Whenever they draw, you draw. So they love to draw cards. That's what we're taking advantage of here. We're taking advantage of the fact that other people like to draw cards, and it's in a way that it's not so parasitic, not so super dependent. Me playing or not playing this card could matter less. Again, no one wants to counter this, no one wants to use interaction on this, but in the long run, this is getting you as many cards as the other player. On top of that, if you happen to put a Consecrated Sphinx in the play, or they have another draw engine, you're drawing even more cards. So you're putting yourself in a position where you're drawing cards, but it's in a position where you didn't have to be so parasitic about it. Because whether or not they play a Ristic, whether or not they play a Mystic, everyone has a draw step. Not only that, this also skips your draw step. So if for some reason they try to deck you out, you won't die because you can't draw. Oh, and it saves your life on your mana vault. So that's a cool thing too. The last card is another big one for me. It's Mind Over Matter. It's 2 colors, 4 blue. A lot of people will say, oh, you know, that's pimp intensive. Even in Kennen, it is kind of pimp intensive. Is it pimp? Nah, it ain't pimp. Pimp intensive. And the fact that it's 4 blue, but the payoff is amazing. You don't know what it does. It's an enchantment. You discard a card. You may tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. Now, with that being said, if you have the 1 ring in play, you discard a card to untap your 1 ring. After you tapped it and draw a card, it gets a burden counter. You do it again. See what I'm saying? You can infinitely draw your deck that way. If you happen to have a Gaia's Cradle down, gives you more activation. And let's not say you have a Nyx Loom out to go with that. You're making triple just for discarding 1 card. This is a game breaker of a card. Usually when I get that, if I can see anything that's rock or anything, I just know it's probably gonna be over really, really fast, and people just don't see it coming. Yeah, it just untaps everything. This is just one of the best cards I think that I really like to see in this deck. It's a fun card. It's, again, game warping cards, things that you can warp the game with and make people play on different axes. It's beautiful to me because it makes them have to think harder, do something outside the norm, and people get in these repetitive, redundant play styles, and interfering with those styles leads to a lot of chaos, but it's controlled chaos that you can work in. I'm on 25 lands. I know that's a little low, but all my decks run low on lands. We don't need lands where we're going, and that's the winner circle. We don't need lands in the winner circle. Leave that for the rookies. All right, congratulations to me. Pat on the back. Good job. Good job, Wham. Good job, buddy. On 10th place finish. Next time it's gonna be first place finish, but you know, whatever. Yeah, let's go on to the next set. Let's see what else we have here. Charlie on the Rock Thrash. I know I said I wasn't gonna look at meta decks, but Rock Thrash isn't really meta. It came out of nowhere, and there's so many different renditions of this deck, so many different ways that people have cooked it up. So I do want to take a chance to take a look at this. Looking at Charlie's deck, let's see what we have. See anything cool. Of course, we have Maggots of the Candelabra. It's just like the Candelabra Taunos. You know, they want to untap their Gaia's Cradle and get as much value as they can. This is the usual package, the usual things they like to run. Malevolent Rumble. I know a lot of players are on or off of Malevolent Rumble. When it comes to a Rock Thrash deck, they've been on like a 50-50 split on this. I myself personally, I like this card. Gives you an extra body, gives you, you know, a permanent card. It could be anything. Like, I like the card. I think it's dope. Newest card addition, I think, will be Louis Sacrifice. I know it's like French, but you know, whatever. Oh, he's on the sudden substitution. He's on the hype. He's on the hype train. In case you didn't know what sudden substitution does, it pretty much allows you to switch the spell by giving someone a creature in a split second, so you can't interfere with it. That's the big thing about it. He's on This Town Ain't Big Enough. Another good card there. He's on the Song Creation build. It's pretty much you cast as many things as you can and try to storm off that way. It's a manual. It's more of a manual storm, but it's still really cool when it does work. This is very light. He's very light. He's very light on a lot of things. When he goes for it, he's going for it. So it's really just about picking a window and knowing how to, you know, take advantage of that window. And for what I saw on, when was it, Saturday? He's gotten really good. So he's good at seeing the windows now and doing the things that he needs to do. The land package here is the big thing when it comes to rock thrashes. Let me see, anything different? No, everything is pretty much stock standard. He's on the shifting woodlands, of course. There we go, good deck. Rock thrash, good deck. Is it Dookie Legion? What do you guys think? Should it be Dookie Legion? If you want to be Dookie Legion, just let me know and it'll be Dookie Legion. This is a toss-up for me. Star Barberries, color lines for the win. And then you can play a big finale win, things of that nature. Congratulations to Charlie, one of the homies once again. This is great. It's good to see him, you know, top a big tournament. I'm pretty sure we're gonna be seeing more of him as well. Who's next? On to Heath Mark's deck. It's Holly Primal Conqueror. Wow, there's a lot going on in this deck. Let me start from the beginning. There's a Rograt in this deck. Is there a Cloudstone Curio? Yep, there it is. It is in here. It's in here for the Cloudstone. Okay, so it works with Bergie, but doesn't he need another 0-drop if he's gonna work with Bergie? Not if he has the Relic of Legends. He doesn't have Relic of Legends. This is interesting. So why is it just for the Bergie? Well, I guess it goes with the underscore goblin as well. Okay, I guess I can see that. I can see it. You don't need Bergie if you have the underscore goblin. So it's just a line with the underscore goblin and the Cloudstone Curio. Just another way to make infinite red mana. I completely get it. That's pretty cool. What else do we have here? Hunting Velociraptor. If you didn't know, this just lets you cast the dino for less. It's first strike dinosaur. It's first strike and it says dinosaur spells you cast have prowl. That means you may cast this for, you know, if he deals combat, that means you can cast the dinosaur for less. And then he has Kiki Jiki lines with Hyrex Tower Scout, as well as, you know, the underscore goblin. So this thing can tap and just let him make more mana. This is just about getting the dino out as fast as possible. People like to call it the big chunky. I like to call it Mr. Badunkadonk. This is just so he can get Mr. Badunkadonk out and do the thing. The Zealous Conscript. So just in case a tally fails, he pretty much goes into Kiki Jiki lines to see if he can kill you with endless combats or take all your stuff and things of that nature, which is a good secondary backup. Of course, he's on squeeze lines with, you know, food chain, so he can instantly, you know, do that again. Exile everyone's deck, pass turn, everyone loses. That's how it works. Hellkite Courser, just in case there's something blocking them out. Let's say you have a Dranathal or anything like that. You play the Hellkite Courser, brings in a tile, you still get the triggers. Then from there, you try to copy it while it's out there. Roman Throne giving you double triggers once again. Of course, you're gonna say dinosaur, but you don't have to say dinosaur because with this deck, you can say a multitude of things that'll work. Electro Duplicate, once again, duplication spells, you know, out the wazoo. Mr. Badonky Donk. Then we have, you know, all the duplication spells. See if we have anything cool on here. We have Legolas's Quick Reflexes, so that you can't kill my dinosaur or my Kiki Jiki or anything like that. All that says is don't touch my dinosaur. We have Autumn's Veil, once again, don't touch my dinosaur. Little protection, please leave my dinosaur alone. Oh, he's on the Fence of the Heart. This is different. It says at the beginning of your upkeep phase, if an opponent controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice this enchantment, search your library for the 2 creature cards and put those cards on the battlefield, then shuffle. This instantly wins you the game. People are saying how? It says find up 2 creatures and put them on the battlefield. I don't know if I'm you guys, but I'm putting Kiki Jiki and Hyrex Tower Scout down. And I don't know if you read this card, it said at the beginning of your upkeep, so you have all day to do this. You win the game. This says I win the game because you played 3 creatures. If anybody on the field has more creatures than you, because most of the taller players are gonna have 3 creatures before they drop Mr. Badonky Donk, you win the game. Really cool. That's a cool card. Let's look at the lands. Let's see if he's running anything cool in the land. Another Surveil land. What is up with y'all on these Surveil lands? You're in Gruul. You need as many untapped sources as you can get. You're Gruul, brother. You don't need this. It's a cruel winner or Gruul winner. See what I did there? Conclusion Forest. That looked a little bit like a Glacial Chasm. That's kind of weird. Rootbound Crag. Anything else? Spire. Yeah, so outside of this stupid Surveil land, everything else is pretty good. Congratulations on your 15th place finish, Heath Marks. I like this. This is very cool. The last deck in top 16 is Jace Pardue. Casting cost cEDH. Looking over this deck, once again, you know, of course there are Planeswalker lines, but this one's a little different. This deck is actually on things such as Redshift, Rocketeer. He has Deadpool in here just in case he needs it. He can infinitely do the blink thing, I think too. Yep, yes he can. Infinitely blink Deadpool to do the thing and still kill you that way. He's on Felidar line. So this is the way I think Sisay should be played. I understand it's tutor chain Sisay. and it's through Birthing Pod as well. I feel like a Felidar line is the cleanest way with the Sisay deck to win the game. There are multiple ways you can find things to get that line off, and I don't understand why more Sisay players aren't doing it this way. I am a real big fan of this. He's even on the Deceiver Exarch. Once again, running it through the Birthing Pod lines. Really cool deck. Really cool deck. Once again, he's helping more towards that Birthing Pod line, more towards pod lines in general. You can still see it even here with Vivian on the hunt. This is something cool. This is something that I would cook. This is something I have cooked. I didn't have Redshift or Ruby in mind, but from looking at it clearly, I made a mistake. That's right. You know, even players make mistakes such as myself. But looking at it, this is perfect. This is good. This is something you can enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Now this is a fine wine on a Friday with the fire going, watching your favorite K-drama. Now let's go into the instance. Ooh, Galadriel's Dismissal. This is hot. If you didn't know what to do, I'm sorry. I'm just staring at the card. It's kicking for 2 and a white. You may play an additional 2 and white as you cast this spell. Target creature phases out. If the spell was kicked, each creature target player control phases out instead. This is Teferi's protection, but it can go in reverse. This literally removes things from the board that you don't want to see, and it does it at an instant speed that, you know, is pretty hard to interact with. This is amazing. What a great call. Anything else out of the ordinary? I guess there is something out of the ordinary. This is a runs interaction. That's out of the ordinary. Most of the players don't run as much interaction. They just want you to do things and be like, I have nothing, and then just put a win on the stack. This is good. I can see why he would talk 16. He's doing different things. Aether Ball, of course, hot card, hot tech. Eventually you're gonna put something in the play that you really like, and nobody's gonna be able to do anything. Especially if it's turn 1, you can happen to mess around and get yourself a Cultist of the Absolute. He's on Survival of Fitness, of course, to go get those Kiki Jiki lines and get things moving and going. He's on Touch the Spirit Realm, you know. But once again, a nice card. It works in a lot of different situations and gets you out a lot of jams. Other, for some reason, this Bayou isn't other. That's weird. So I would say he's on 28 lands. Look at the land package. Of course, you know, he's on the Mount Doom. It's another outlet for the fairy. For the Revi and Emil lines. You infinitely make infinite colors. Then you go ahead and start untapping and tapping this Mount Doom and dealing damage to everyone to kill them. Everything else is pretty stock and standard. Even the Planeswalkers are stock and standard, except for Vivian of the Hunt. That's a standout, but that's because he's on the lines, on the tutor lines. Oh, he's on the bio. Oh wow, this is pretty cool too. No, he's on both. I said, was this in place of Torgo? No, he's on both. That's pretty cool. If you didn't know what this does, is a genomic enchantment. You pretty much tap it, add 1 color, any color. It's meant to cast a creature spell. It comes in with the 1/1 counter. The reason this is so good because then you can cast this and it comes in with that extra 1/1 counter, boosting its power up instantly. So you get there once again, maybe even a turn faster. A big thing right now in the meta is tempo. You can find a way to create tempo or reduce everyone else's tempo. It puts you in a position to win faster and more dominant. Great deck, man. It was good to play you. It was a great time. Congratulations on your win, man. And I know I'll be seeing you again as well. All right, guys. That wraps it up. We did a good job here today. We got a lot finished. Moving forward, I do want to do a few interviews with some people. Then I'm gonna start reaching out to people, see if I can get something cooking, you know. I know it was gone for a while, but back now, baby. You know, I'm still loving y'all the way I was loving y'all before I left. Looking forward to doing some new content with some new content with some new people, as well as, you know, putting out more for you guys just in general. I also had to take a break because, you know, I wanted to learn some new things as far as production goes and cuts and edits. At first I wasn't on Premiere Pro, but now I am on Premiere, so I had to take a little while to learn that as well. So that's why I'm saying, you know, just give me a little time and I'll make it worth your while. Those of you who did stay around, thanks for staying. You know, I appreciate everything. With that being said, you know, we're done here. You know, please be the change you want to see in the community. Let's treat each other right. Let's do right by one another. Let's take care of one another, love each other, build a strong community. I'm out, man.